Hey everybody, it's Golmadex, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Theros Beyond Death. Without further ado, let's pack one, pick one of the least beatable rares ever printed. Dream Trawler was a huge grown test in this format. It's a 6-mana 3/5 flying lifelink. That part's not so bad, but every time it attacks you draw a card, so it's a huge card advantage engine right there. And here's the real kicker, here's the really egregious part. You can discard a card to give it hexproof till end of turn and tap it, so the most your opponents can really hope to do with their removal spells is stop it from attacking for one turn, because you have to tap it to give it that hexproof. But you're going to have plenty of cards to discard to protect this thing when it fuels its own ability, drawing those extra cards while it attacks, and it's almost impossible to race because you're hitting them in the face for 4 damage each turn, gaining 4 life, actually 5. I'm so bad at math. You draw 2 cards per turn when this is on the board because you draw 1 in your draw step and 1 when it declares the attack. Card is silly, and that's very easily the pack one, pick one, and we're going to do pretty much everything in our power to stick to blue-white as the main colors in this deck. So now we have 2 great options out of blue and white. There's Dreadful Apathy for excellent removal, and Omen of the Sun, which is a great instant speed little way to make some creatures, so you can surprise kill your opponent's attacking 3/1s and stuff. That can play super well. If this format had pretty good fixing, if the fixing was more comparable to something like Outlaws of Thunder Junction or a Ravnica set or something, we could maybe take the Hackdos here, but the fixing is pretty weak in this format to where it's incredibly difficult to shove a double white, double blue card and a double red, double white card into the same deck. I really wouldn't recommend that. I'm just going to go for the on-color removal with Dreadful Apathy here. Pick number 3 now. We've got nothing incredible, honestly. Most of these common creatures are incredibly filler. I think my favorite of the common creatures is probably the Sunmane Pegasus, since it can give itself flying and lifelink, but we probably go for the Archon of Falling Stars here. When it dies, we can maybe reanimate a Dreadful Apathy and get rid of another opposing threat, because the activated ability on this thing lets us exile the enchanted creature, which ends up putting Apathy in our graveyard, so nice little combo with the Archon there. Getting past some great removal, Mire's Grasp and Warbriar Blessing, but again, we have probably the biggest reason in the entire set to stick to blue-white, so we're not really hopping off that train. Pick 4 now, we have some more solid removal. One with the Stars turns a creature or enchantment into just an enchantment with no other abilities. Actually, no, it still has its abilities, it just loses all its other card types. So you have to use this on something that is actually attacking and blocking for most of its value, rather than having a good ability. But it's pretty much a slightly more expensive Dreadful Apathy, but it plays pretty decently since it is pacifying the creature rather than putting it into your opponent's graveyard or anything like that, so they can't escape it from the graveyard or use any other graveyard synergies, so it still plays pretty well, pretty fine, like the Apathy. Pick 5, Witness of Tomorrows is a pretty solid flyer, and it can set up your draws with the Scry ability. Sentinel's Eyes has some really fun synergies in the format, but not really in our deck right now. Pick 6, this is all quite filler in every color. I guess I'll just rare draft the uncommon filler since that fills the Vault's Progress faster. Now a solid filler 2-drop creature. I do want to say Flicker of Fate isn't completely unplayable, because it's really good against aura removal spells and stuff like that. Your opponent can pacify your creature, and then later on you could just top deck a Flicker of Fate, which is pretty good. Like if they put one with the Stars on your card, if they put a Dreadful Apathy on it and they have the mana up, they could still exile it in response to Flicker of Fate. But there's some other fun little combos with the Flicker. So again, card's not unplayable, but it's not a super high pick for me either, because it does often get cut. Narrow removal or big doofus when we have 2 really good big doofuses. I'm still going to take the Unicorn. I think Triumphant Surge is just very, very narrow. Deny the Divine is actually a pretty sweet counterspell in this format because a majority of people's decks are creatures and enchantments, because there are enchantments taking the slot of instants and sorceries from other formats, right? Because most sets, you're going to have a bunch of creatures and you're going to have like instant sorcery-based removal, but literally every color has enchantment-based removal in this format. Cards like Iroas's Blessing, instead of like a 4-mana sorcery to deal 4, it's a 4-mana enchantment to deal 4. So this actually ends up being counter a creature or a removal spell or, you know, a variety of things. It's a pretty flexible counter spell, and the fact that it exiles so they can't even escape anything is excellent too. Now we're just going to take all the on-color filler to keep people off our backs here. And we'll see what we open up in pack number 2. Well, another Dreadful Apathy it looks like. Nothing else particularly exciting. The Transcendent Envoy would be okay, since we're going to have multiple envoys and... or not multiple envoys, multiple apathies and a one with the stars. But we're certainly not taking that over the apathy itself. Not much here for pack 2, pick 2. We can take a decent flyer or just the on-colored dual land. Sea God's Scorn is a whole ton of mana, but it's also a whole ton of bounce, so it is fine. Bunch of fine options here. I don't think any of these are great, but I'll go ahead and take the Temple of Enlightenment here. We got a double white, double blue card we're trying to hit. Now, Omen of the Sun looks great to me. Some early blockers, a little bit of life gain, and set up your draws with the Scry ability. I've got double Dreadful Apathy, one with the stars for hard removal, and Deny the Divine for a counter right now, so I could spend a pick on some card draw with Metamized Prophecy here. Basically a Scry 2, draw 2, but it's a very fancy version of that. You have to tell your opponent what you're going to play next turn in order to get your draw 2. It's pretty cute. I think, yeah, it's between these two, one with the stars and the prophecy. I think card draw does play really well in the format, and we haven't seen any of the blue omens, sadly, so we have like no card draw outside of Dream Trawler right now, so I want to find some. I'm going to take that Metamized Prophecy. Okay. Does look like we're fighting over our colors, but again, with Dream Trawler, we kind of have to, sadly. I'll actually just rare draft an uncommon. I'm not going to play double Unicorn. An Elite Instructor. Maybe Chain to Memory's fine in this deck when we have such a powerful card to dig for with Dream Trawler. So just Scry 2 and Fog for a second is okay, maybe. But if we're really playing for the Scry 2 that much, we could also just draw a card, discard a card. That's another way to dig through the deck, so... I think those are all pretty filler. Alright, there we go. There's excellent card draw. Thirst for Meaning, draw 3 cards, discard 2, or draw 3 and then discard enchantments. Very good way to dig through the deck, and that is certainly what we want to do here. It's also instant speed card draw to synergize with Dream Trawler. Randomly give it 3 extra power there. Vexing Goal is actually solid when you have other instants. So the more different options you have at instant speed, the better all of your instants get. Because if you hold up a counterspell and your opponent doesn't end up casting anything you can counter, your mana got soaked up and you're not happy with it. But if you hold up a counterspell, they don't end up casting something you can counter, but now you also have a Vexing Goal or a Thirst for Meaning, just something else to do with your mana. You're actually pretty happy because you still get to do stuff there. So I do like having more random instants. So I'm cool with that Vexing Goal. Actually pretty cool with the Eidolon of Philosophy as well. This format is slow enough you can get to the 7 mana to draw 3 at times. The 1/2 body's very filler, but a 3-for-1 is a 3-for-1. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. Another Dreadful Apathy it is. We could also go for the Sweet Oblivion, trying to win a long game, because there's a lot of decks that are going to be doing some amount of self-milling, so you don't even have to mill your opponent that much with this for them to randomly die. The problem is if you end up milling them too early, you're just feeling all their escape cards, and they might just kill you with them even faster, so it's a fun win condition to try to do sometimes, but I would rather just be all in on the Dream Trawler as the win condition here and grab some more removal. Stay alive till we dig for it. Not much going on here. Pack 3, pick 2. Daybreak Chimera looks okay. Our alternate win condition is just generic blue-white flyers stuff. Just some average flyers. Pack 3, pick 3. Not much here. I'll go for the Riptide Turtle and just really stall things out till we hit our great late game plays. Ooh, got a Heliod's Intervention here, pick 4. There's enough artifacts and enchantments in this format that naturalize type spells that destroy one artifact or enchantment are main deckable, and this is a really explosive one, because worst case scenario, most games you'll be able to blow up something with this. Best case scenario, sometimes this is going to be almost a one-sided board wipe, where you're blowing up 2 or 3 of your opponent's cards off of just one spell. So Heliod's Intervention, a little bit narrow, but this format is loaded with enchantments, and when it pops off, it's completely backbreaking, so it is worth running, even if there are going to be 1 or 2 games where it destroys one card or it just gains us some life. Another Metamized Prophecy looks fine to me, although I could see an argument for the Legion of the Lost Pride just because I am very low on early game blockers, but I'm just going to be really scrying and digging all day long. I'll take a Sentinel's Eyes as an option, but it's probably going to get cut because we're going to have a pretty low creature count. Another Riptide Turtle to stall up. I could also Sage of Mysteries trying to mill people out, but again, if you mill your opponent but you don't actually mill their entire deck, you've just fueled them and made all of their escape cards even better, so it can be pretty detrimental if you don't manage to get all the way there. Rare draft an uncommon for Vault Progress, and probably do that for the rest of the draft. So let's remove these auras, because we're not going to play enough creatures to really want to use those on our own cards. Remove this Soul Guide Lantern, it's pretty narrow. Wave Rider, 4 mana 3/3 is very bad. Even a 4 mana 3/3 flyer isn't that good, and that's the best case scenario for the Wave Rider, so we'll drop that. I think we drop the Unicorns and the Rumbling Sentry. Some of our higher mana value filler cards, because we just have better creatures at those mana values anyway. Unicorns, Sentries, and then they're very filler creatures at 3 mana, the Familiar and the Elite Instructor, but they are both the kind of cards that dig a little bit towards something like a Dream Trawler. I think I just dropped the Sage and that would be it. We could call it a deck from there. I think I'm cool with that. I could see an argument that the Thaumaturgist Familiar or the Elite Instructor are just so filler that we want to play another 5 mana creature over one of those. But it would just be like Rumbling Sentries, which are pretty equally filler. Rumbling Sentry is basically just like a 6 mana version of the Thaumaturgist Familiar. I guess the Unicorn at least can like do some swinging. But we could just be trading unexciting creatures for unexciting creatures. So I think I'm just going to call it a deck here. Alright, here's like the final deck list for today. Just some blue-white flyers stuff. We are kind of sitting on our butt, chilling behind some Riptide Turtles and stuff in the early game, trying to set up our draws with some scrying, some draw and discard, and some big card draw with Thirst for Meanings and Metamized Prophecy. And what we're trying to dig for are big flyers in general, like Witness of Tomorrow's Daybreak Chimera and Archon of Falling Stars, but in particular, we're really trying to end games with Dream Trawler, which should be pretty much unbeatable any time that we manage to draw into it. So that's why we are running so much card draw and playing a pretty turtley defensive deck here with tons of removal, triple Apathy, One with the Stars, Counterspell with Deny the Divine, Heliod's Intervention can be multiple removal spells in one sometimes, and Sea God's Scorn, another way to slow things down quite a bit. So that is a look at the deck list for today. Without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game 1 on the draw against a red deck. Could be a little sketchy if they're pretty aggressive, but we have the turtles, so we have our very big roadblock to start things off. There we go, roadblock is gonna roadblock. Turtle can block that 3/1 all day long, at least until they spend removal on it, but then they had to spend removal on our 2 mana creature, which is not the end of the world. There's a Mire Triton, ooh, a Death Toucher, so the turtle doesn't block that well, but we've got an Elite Instructor to play this turn instead, which seems pretty good to me. Find an apathy, ditch the hero. Snap blocks and see what they've got. Nothing. Discordant Piper, sure. Things are looking good here. I don't think I need to spend removal right now. I can take 2 and go to 18. Hold up this Deny the Divine. Flummox Cyclops, 4/4 reach. I think I'd rather spend removal on that than a counter spell. So we Prophecy, and then we Apathy the Cyclops. Or I can take 5 this turn to still hold up Deny the Divine instead of casting the Apathy. So that is fine. Heliod's Intervention looking pretty bad here. We might discard that to Thirst for Meaning. That'd be pretty reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and just Apathy here, since we don't have another instant to hold up right now, and then next turn we get to hold up Deny the Divine and Thirst for Meaning if we don't cast it. Underworld Charger. So what are we choosing here? We're choosing what we're going to play next turn. So One with the Stars. Right. So next turn we play One with the Stars. All right. I've got a little issue here, which is I kind of want to Thirst for Meaning so we hit our land drop this turn, but then if we don't hit the land drop, I don't get to Deny the Divine. Top 3, it's pretty likely. Yeah, we got it. All right. Decline. Discard the Intervention. Well, hold the phone. Gaining twice X might be a big deal this game. Generally, life gain doesn't matter that much, but this looks like a pretty tempo-based game here, where if I can just gain, what, like 8 or 10 life or something, that could actually have a decent impact on the game. Because if we outlast our opponent, we should be able to draw into better spells and more spells and so on. Alright, I will just exile that, so it can't do any escaping. Now I drew into another turtle, which is great. So we're going to say One with the Stars on one of the escape threats. I guess the Charger is bigger. I don't really care whether or not their creatures can block, since I'm only going to be attacking in the sky with this deck anyway. Stop all the damage. And there's a big old 4/5 that can sacrifice their creatures and enchantments. We're going to top deck a Dreadful Apathy to deal with the War Leaders, so that's good. They're going to top deck an Oracle, which is also good because the fire breathing ability. Really hard to breathe that up to 5 power, though. It's going to require 6 mana to do so. I guess they're close. Okay, so I need to exile this Cyclops if I don't want it to give them free value. Oh, they can sack enchantments to that too? Gross. So they get to sacrifice the Underworld Charger and give it the Menace, and then they'll have the Underworld Charger in their grave to escape with? I don't think I can do anything about that, because I can't exile this Underworld Charger. I can destroy it, but that doesn't really change anything. Alright, yeah, we just exile the Cyclops, then at least, and drop the Witness. They're gonna have the Underworld Charger engraved to escape later, and they're gonna have a Menacing War Leader this turn, but I can shut it off next turn. Well, I guess sack the Rage Hound, since that one already has to chump attack. Makes sense. many cards do they have for escape? Just 4? So they just bring back the Rage Hound and it bounces off Turtle. Okay, this looks fine. Sacrifice another creature or an enchantment to do that. It can still use the ability, so it could put the Underworld Charger in their grave. So I could exile it right now so that they can't put Charger in their grave, but I think it's worth holding the mana up here for Heliod's Intervention gain 6 if they randomly find some way to blow me out, try to kill me. So far, so good. There's Incendiary Oracle. There's Incendiary Oracle. And that's it. Okay, so they can sack the Charger in response to me doing this, but let me get this out of the way. Sure. Double Oracle's pretty bad. 4 creatures against 3 blockers. Gain 14 life. Something. I don't have the mana to make one of these oracles big enough to kill a turtle. They just make it 4 power. So we just take 2 here. You're 8, sure. Oh, they're gonna try to go for lethal here. That makes sense, yeah. That's lethal. Six, 7. Cool. Okay, if I scry right now, unless the top card of my library is exactly Dream Trawler, I can cast whatever I scry into. Oh no, I have 3 6-mana cards in my deck. Unless it's one of those 3, it's better to scry than it is to draw blind. Yeah, I think I scry here. Rena got jokes. It's okay. They've got 2 cards in hand. We're probably still good. Playing this next turn. I guess on the plus side, maybe this is actually beneficial. Because now I don't have an excuse to play it without a card to give it hexproof. Because I can't afford to cast it. So I have to wait till I draw something to discard to give it hexproof at this point. So if they have removal in hand, then this is beneficial. Or if they top decked removal. Okay, force them to spend all their mana to trade into this Witness of Tomorrows. So they don't play any more creatures this turn. Cool. Let's scry again. Back single, sure, good enough. That actually might be really good if I have enough mana to play that and the Trawler. Yeah, that's really good. That means I get to hold it up for the hexproof, but also still just cast it in the end step. If they don't try to kill Dream Trawler. Alright. Dream Trawler does Dream Trawler things, but just a testament to the turtles there, really. Grinding out the game, stalling things out till we saw 25 out of our 40 cards. Just sat, did a lot of digging and controlling, and just staying alive, really. Heliod's Intervention against the deck with no enchantments was still good, just to buy us extra time. So, very, very control-y game there. But it will be a victory. All right, here we are on the play for game number 2. Obviously, we need white mana here, but we're about to dig 3 extra cards deep to look for it. And we could also just top deck it naturally at some point, which we have here. I don't think our deck cares enough about being aggressive to just drop the 2-mana 2/2 right now. No, my draw 3! No! I'm sorry, Eidolon. Ooh, okay, that's a problem. Definitely going to apathy that so we can deal with it without letting it escape from the grave later. Boop boom. Yeah, we're discarding 1 apathy. These lands are valuable enough to keep. Alright. Hopefully, since they're green-red, they will have to use removal on their own Chimera instead of sacrificing it for value. Oh, Furious Rise. Gross. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. I was going to say we could just exile the Chimera now so that they don't draw any more cards off Furious Rise, but now they're just going to cast a Typhon and still draw more cards off Furious Rise anyway. I need to get to a board state where I've exiled Chimera and the Typhon to stop Furious Rise from popping off. So at that rate, I think I just cast this Witness. Because I need to top deck another white source. I guess if I top deck any land, I can exile this Chimera and then I can scorn the Typhon and the Furious Rise and anything else they might have played. So they have to slowly recast them. Requires a top deck land, which is rough, but it's such a good play if we can get there. Whereas if I don't exile this Chimera right now, if I cast the Witness instead, and then I do top deck the land for Scorn, Scorn doesn't stop the Furious Rise, they just recast it with Chimera on board. Oh, I'm not going to gamble on top deck land here. I'm going to play the Witness. If we top deck a land, we can still Scorn. It's not as good. Okay, and we didn't top deck the land, so pretty happy with our choice then. Let's drop an Elite Instructor and see if that finds the land, and if it does, we get to apathy the Typhon. Obviously, we're going to discard our 2/2 here. Well, I don't really want to double block Typhon with 2/2/2s because the escape ability. So I might still discard the 2/2. Because I just don't think our ground bodies are going to be that relevant here. I could discard an Intervention because we're not at double white yet, but once we get there, blowing up Furious Rise at minimum is definitely valuable. Yeah, I guess I'd just discard the hero, I think. "24 cards left. We've only hit 5 lands, so there's 12 out of 24. We're at a 50% land count instead of the normal, what, 37-ish you start with? I don't actually know the numbers. 17 out of 40? That's probably like 40%. No, that's an insane Saga. Okay, we need like top deck planes now. Oh my god. That's not even mana. Yeah, First Star 1 Games is one of the best Sagas in the format. It is, by itself, a 3-mana 4/4 that draws you 2 cards and makes a treasure, which is insanity. With more creatures, it's just more flexible. They can put the counters wherever they want, and then even if I kill that, they still get to draw the cards, and then... This is looking pretty bad. I mean... think we have to apathy something here. I hit for 4 in the sky each turn. There's no way that outraces this board state if I'm not apathying right now. And maybe we get to a Sea God Scorn, and that does a lot of work trying to outrace our opponents, so that's something. We get to bounce the Token, the Warden, and the Furious Rise. Obviously, there's no universe where we're bouncing the Saga. Ooh, the Mystic Repeal against our enchantment removal. Wow, still no mana. Alright. Not a lot to say there, just drew pretty poorly. I think that was a winnable matchup, maybe even a winnable game, if we just had more mana, really. Second white source for the intervention obviously would have been huge. But if we did hit like Sea God Scorn on curve to slow down the Furious Rise nonsense, that'd be big as well. But we just could not find the lands, sadly. 1-1 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are for game 3. This time a really nice opening hand. Super good at setting up those draws with Prophecy into Thirst for Meaning. There's an Omen of the Sun as well. And we have already hit double white this time. 4 mana already as well. We've got draw 5 in hand total. We'll have to discard something to the Thirst for Meaning, but this looks like a sweet start. It's the blue-white mirror match. Probably going to be a pretty long game here. There's the Dream Trawler. All right, well, that's the goal. Honestly, just gonna keep the land and make sure I have 6. If I flood out, I can just discard 2 to this Thirst for Meaning. Just going to guarantee we hit the 6th mana for the Dream Trawler. Heliod's Pilgrim is the play, which is going to grab probably removal. Dreadful Apathy or Ichthyomorphosis. Nope, Staggering Insight will be the draw. That's actually devastating. This card's insanity. It turns anything into Dream Trawler. +1/+1 lifelink, and they draw a card every time it hits us. Well, we need to say Thirst for Meaning, I think. So that I can cast Omen of the Sun this turn. So that I can just chump block the Pilgrim to stop them from drawing extra cards for free. Oh, they're not even going to cast the Insight? Okay, well, we still cast the Omen of the Sun, but now we just like try to kill the Pilgrim, I guess. Okay, I'm infinitely happier with them spending the turn countering an Omen of the Sun than them spending the turn putting a Staggering Insight on a Pilgrim. So I think all in all, played out quite well for us. First time this turn, so I have to main phase it. Boop boom. Boop boop boom. If I discard 2 lands, I will be at 5 in hand, so we will discard 1 enchantment. I think I discard Witness of Tomorrows and we just go all in on 1 threat. Keep this removal to make sure the Dream Trawler always has a path. This might be wrong, but I want to keep all this removal. Oh shoot, I have to discard the hand size anyway? Well, I can discard a 2/2 on the ground. Really happy I drew multiple removal spells. Never mind. I mean, I guess now I need multiple removal spells. All Seed's really annoying, though. Oh, no, it's not. That's protection and not hexproof. So they can give it protection from white or protection from blue when I try to kill their thing. But if they do, then the enchantment's going to fall off anyway, and that's the only thing that's important here. Go for the apathy that lets me hold up the turtle. So they can say Pilgrim is pro-white, but then Staggering Insight falls off. And that's the only thing I care about here. They can keep their 1/2. That is not as bad for me as I thought it was. This is an older card when they still used protection from colors. Now it's all like hexproof from a color. I guess One with the Stars would be slightly safer to use here because then the Staggering Insight would immediately go into their grave. Okay, if they're going to crack the All-Seed, then we're good either way. Staggering Insight falls off. Cool. But if they didn't crack the All-Seed and we used One with the Stars, then that would turn the Pilgrim into an enchantment, which would mean that the Staggering Insight falls off because it's not enchanting a creature anymore. And then be in a pretty good spot from there. Because if they didn't have the Staggering Insight fall off, they could have maybe had some kind of enchantment removal to save the Pilgrim before we exile it to the Dreadful Apathy. Alright, Dream Trawler does Dream Trawler things. They tapped out a counterspell mana, so I slapped it on the board and they're over it. I wonder if we'll ever get to actually declare an attack with Dream Trawler, or if the text actually just says, when this enters the battlefield, your opponent must concede in their next turn. I guess we'll find out. We are 2-1 now, heading into game 4. Here we are for game number 4. We don't have any card draw in the hand, which is the only thing that I'm slightly unhappy about, but I mean, this hand looks insane. So it's a snap keep. The only thing that I don't like here is that without card draw in hand, we don't know if we're going to hit every land drop on curve, all the way up to 6 mana. But we can scry towards them. And there's enough card draw in our deck. We could also just top deck into some card draw along the way. Alright, here we go. Our opponent is on the play on green-black. There's the Discordant Piper. Our Omen of the Sun should be pretty solid here. It's actually a tiny argument for holding on to Hero of the Pride, so we have something left over in hand for Dream Trawler no matter what. Wow, Elspeth's Nightmare continues to be an absurd card. They'll know that we have a Dream Trawler coming and they get to get rid of our Heliod's Intervention. Or we can just cast the Heliod's Intervention to blow up the Elspeth's Nightmare. And then they don't get to know what's coming. Since I have to discard it anyway, I think I just do this. I take a little bit of extra damage to do this. I take 2 extra damage instead of dropping the Omen to trade to Piper immediately, but since this is going to get discarded whether or not I cast it, I might as well cast it, and they don't get to know what our hand is now, which is pretty valuable information this game. Because I also, like, the element of surprise is gone with the Omen of the Sun, so I'm not even going to kill the Piper on their attack with the Omen anymore once it's revealed. I think we just curve 5-drop, 6-drop here. If I top deck a land, 100% that's the play. If not, there's an argument to play Instructor just to really make sure I'm Dream Trawlering on turn 6. Nyx Herald attacks as a 3/4. I think because Nyx Herald attacks as a 3/4, we just play our 3/4 body. We can bounce off that thing, take 0 here. But again, I could see the argument for just dropping Instructor, trying to get a land, discarding Chimera. Put a stop on my upkeep just in case something really weird happens that makes me want to scry in the upkeep. It's pretty unlikely, but if you don't put a stop on your upkeep when you have an Omen on the board, it's not going to let you sack it before you draw a card. And it's hard to do it at the last second. Like, something really weird could happen where they cast some really specific card that makes me be like, oh, there's a 2-drop in my deck I could hit here that would exactly save me. And then by the time I see that resolve on screen and I click this button, and it's moving to their end step, it'll just skip through my upkeep anyway because I didn't put a stop there soon enough. I've had that happen before. So it's generally a good habit with these Omens to just manually put those stops there just in case and just give yourself 1 extra upkeep to have to click the space bar through. I probably just don't even do it often enough. Again, not that you want to actually sack them in your upkeep that often, but having the option is important, and Arena will never give you that option without you actively clicking there. You have to prompt it to give you the option. I went for the block here so that whatever they spend on the Witness of Tomorrows is not around to try to do anything to the Trawler anymore. That way, we're getting rid of combat tricks from their hand. So just in case it was something like +3/+3 reach, that is an instant that exists in this format. That's what I was really playing towards there. Trying to get them to not have +3/+3 reach in their hand. Because then they could do that and then block the Dream Trawler. Could drop this Instructor here. I can go land Instructor if I discard 2 lands. But then I end up having to discard Chimera probably, which I don't really want to do. But I guess... Well... I actually think I just hold the mana for the Scry here. Because the other problem with playing Instructor... That's 1 less card to discard to the Dream Trawler. I might have to discard something actually good to Trawler as well later. I don't think a 2/2 is actually blocking at all, because it's a 3/4 trample. We can't double block that. So actually best to just scry here. Okay, Labyrinth of Scophos is kind of good against Dream Trawler. I get to keep drawing the cards, but they can keep removing it from combat unless I discard a card. That would mean they have to spend basically all their mana to do that, though, and if they spend all their mana doing that, then they don't have the mana to deal with the Dream Trawler. Or just play any spells of their own to outrace it or anything like that. No, I think Dream Trawler just beats basically everything. Even the Labyrinth. Alright, they need 4 removal spells to kill Dream Trawler. There's removal spell 1. I probably have to cash in a card to give Dream Trawler Hexproof on the attack so that I can gain some life here to make sure that I'm not dying to any combat tricks or anything. Okay, there's removal spell 2. It would technically survive this, but we need the big life link. And it has hexproof for the whole turn, so they can't even cast another removal spell right now. They have to wait till their next turn to do it. And they didn't hold up Labyrinth mana, so we are going to get the gain 5 here. Ka-ching. I could drop the Prophecy because it potentially draws 2 in a little while, but I'm just going to keep triple hexproof in hand right now. I lost count. That's number 4, right? Okay, yeah, they're just done with it. So, like, hold up. Does anything ever resolve on Dream Trawler? No, it really just doesn't. Dream Trawler is just not a fair magic card at all. And it pilots us all the way to 3-1. All we gotta do is ride on its back there. And we are at least at a 50-50 run heading into game number 5. Alright, guess who's digging? We're gonna dig so far towards Dream Trawler. Even if it's the bottom card of our deck, we might be able to cast it this game because I can put 4 other cards below it. Blue-white mirror match. There's a stinging lionfish. Let's play Metamize Prophecy next turn and play Elite Instructor this turn. Yeah, we can go for mana efficiency here. I think that's okay. Should have enough card draw to hit more lands here, so I'm going to ditch that one. Metamize Prophecy is pretty fun. Like a pretty fun design for a Scry 2 draw 2. Are they just going to counter the second Prophecy? That'd be decent. They counter another Scry 2 draw 2, but I still draw my 2 cards off the first one. They are not going to counter it. Cool. Scry 2, these are not... They're not Dream Trawlers, but Heliod's Intervention is pretty good against blue-white. I think we keep that. 4 mana up next turn, is that enough? Is there any reason to want 5 mana? No, because everything in our hand is 3 or 4. We're still only going to be able to cast 1 spell next turn anyway. Maybe this is greedy, but I'm going to play the untapped land so that I can get a scry off of Temple of Enlightenment next turn. The only thing that could play poorly about this is that now I can't Heliod's Intervention next turn. I won't have double white up. But I can do any other spell. And I was probably going to get greedy with Heliod's Intervention anyway and wait for more enchantments. Yeah, because I'm going to say most of what they have in blue-white should be enchantments. It does already look pretty insane, though. Okay, I should have ordered that differently so I had more information about what I would want to do next turn. I'm going to have 5 out of 6 mana up next turn. We'll just do one of these 3 drops next turn, right? So... let's say... Vexing Goal, so I can play Omen of the Sun this turn and kill the 2-1 for free. I guess I don't, it's going to be 2 toughness. I don't want to say One with the Stars, though, and I don't want to say Heliod's Intervention because I don't want them to play around that. I'll say Vexing Goal. Okay, Witness of Tomorrow is on top. I want that to just be a mana, honestly. Just a land, so get out of here. Now we're gonna Omen of the Sun or Thirst for Meaning. Well, we know they've got a really big enchantment creature to play. So Heliod's Intervention is going to be the Stone Cold Nuts. Back with a 3-4. Yeah, let's try this. Quadruple block. Or it's just a triple block. Block it with 4 power here. Make them spend removal or a combat trick on something meaningless like a token or a 2/2. Nope, we just get the kill. There's the witness. Cool. So, Vexing Goal. For the card draw, I'm at 20 life. I don't need to immediately intervention here. I can afford to make sure I get my cards. Cool. That is mana number 6. Now we draw 3, discard 1. Looking for Dream Trawler, right? I believe so. Or I could just scry 3. Lots of options. At this point, I've got a really big flyer, even without Dream Trawler specifically. And I've got a one-sided board wipe. We'd like them to get a little bit lower on cards in hand first, ideally. Wish this let me discard an artifact or enchantment, but then it would be like really busted. But then I could discard Thaumaturge's Familiar and that'd be nice. This dies, return an enchantment from your grave to the battlefield. So when it dies, I can bring back... Oh no, I scried away the 3/4 I didn't put in grave, dang. I was gonna say I could bring back my 3/4. No, I can't. Birth of Melodus finds a plains, and I'll give them a 0/4 and some life gain. Here's the thirst for meaning. Discard a land and a Thaumaturge's Familiar here. It's a Dreadful Apathy. They're going to draw a Unicorn, and we're going to draw an island. So we can get rid of the Unicorn with One with the Stars or Apathy. A chunk of open mana from our opponent. Five, 6. If I cast the Archon, I don't get to cast anything else this turn. I could just pass through, because this mana represents the counter a creature or enchantment. Then we can Heliod's Intervention them next turn. Just take another 3 for now. Could also tap out for this and slow them down. I think I'm going to pass through here. Worst case scenario, we just Omen of the Sun, scry this away towards the Dream Trawler. We're definitely going to try to cast the Archon before the Dream Trawler, though, to see if that can draw removal. Or not removal, but draw the counterspell. Okay, it's an Omen of the Sun. Tap our 1/1. Okay, as far as I remember, the only counterspell that actually counters like non-creatures, non-enchantments is like the 4 mana common, and that card is super unpopular. So I should be able to just intervention all the artifacts here, most likely. Or all the enchantments here, most likely. There's only 2 I really need to kill right now. I'm going to take a chunk of damage and see if they play another enchantment. They probably don't. Just play the Unicorn. But I'll take 5 extra damage on the off chance of killing one more enchantment. holding up specifically double white for some reason. Right? Oh, for Daybreak Chimera? Yikes. Okay. I've got the mana to deal with everything except the 1/1s now, though. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let them gain 2. Yeah. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get rid of their scry. Okay. And I can see God's Scorn 2 of the 1/1s here. They're also down to 1 card in hand. 5, 6, 7. I can have 8 mana, which still isn't enough to play Archon on anything else. I don't think I can afford to just slam down Archon trying to play around the counterspell. I think I have to just deal with these threats right now. Which means we want to Apathy the creature with an ability, so I can exile it later. And we want to One with the Stars, the one that doesn't have an ability. Since it doesn't do anything sitting there as an enchantment. And at 10 life, I'm just going to hold off. Hold up the 2/2 blocker in case they don't play an enchantment. And they just don't get to attack. Cool. 3/3 Wave Rider is fine. Seven, 8. If we top deck a land, we exile the Unicorn, kill the tokens, and bounce the Wave Rider and start jamming in. Cool. Sure. Very few decks where I would be like, top decking land 9 is pretty good here. But this control mush pile is certainly one of them. I guess technically I maybe should have just scryed with the Omen in their end step, but I was going to want to get rid of this ability at some point. Alright. If they have an Omen here, they could Constellation that in the sky, kill my goal for free. That would actually be kind of bad for me. Should we put any stops on my upkeep? Okay, at this rate, it looks like we're on the path to victory, even without a Dream Trawler. A Dream Trawler would definitely be very helpful, but we've got the Scry set up here, and we're hitting them just as hard as they're hitting us when they're playing enchantments, and when they're not, we just Turtle Bounce the Wave Rider. Take 0 while we hit them. We're significantly lower on life. But they are lower on cards. Okay, there's the Apathy for the Wave Rider, and then a Chimera to have another threat to beat down with. I mean, there's a Dream Trawler somewhere here. I don't think it would be insane to put these on the bottom just because we know there's a Dream Trawler in the next, like, 10 after that. But these are reasonable enough to keep the lead on here, keep hitting them for 3 a turn. I feel like the only way this doesn't work out is if they also have a Dream Trawler in their deck and they draw it before us because we didn't scry these to the bottom. It could just be like, it could not work out because they hit really good spells from here, but these are solid draws. I don't think I have to give up on just solid top decks at this point. They have like a Thrix, I'm pretty dead. But Thrix is kind of a mega bomb. 5 mana, 4/5 flash flyer. feel like Arena is just holding for their apathy ability. Oh, another Omen of the Sun. It's actually actually really bad for me because it also scries for them. Not like insanely bad, but it's definitely bad. If this is a Dream Trawler versus Dream Trawler matchup, that is some divine justice, but I would also be really sad if they Dream Trawler before me, because we scried a bunch to the bottom and we're farther through our deck too. They have scried some to the bottom though. I don't know how many they have. A little harder for us to keep track. All right, there's another scry. 2 bottom. I should stop playing lands now, so if I top deck a Dream Trawler, I have a card to give it hexproof. Boop, boop. Oh, that's a good draw. I forgot I had that in here. That's a really good draw. We can chump block a Courser, draw 3 here. Feels like the play. Still block everything on their board and draw 3 at the same time, and they're over it. We hit a draw 3 in the top deck board, and that is enough for our opponent to get out of this grindy blue-white mirror match. They are done with this nonsense. We are now 4-1, positive record, and breaking even on gems at worst. Pretty solid spot to be as we head into round number 6. All right, here we are on the play for game number 6. That Temple Scry to start things off. Get our blue source ready. I'm gonna keep this land. We've got a really good 5 and 6 mana play in here, and we have another Scry coming up later. If we do flood a little bit, we can ditch a land off that Scry. Ooh, Metamized Prophecy. That's a little bit better scrying than we've got going on right now. The Scry 2, draw 2 coming up. Alright, now we're at 5 mana already. I will scry away a land if we hit another. There we go, get out of here. Skedaddle. What are they casting next turn? Time to find out. Mire Triton. Alright. You have a Death Toucher on the ground. No! No! They play instants and they draw extra cards every time they do so. That is not a good card to see at all. I guess I can try to trade a Vexing Goal into that, which is something. But that kind of card draw engine this early in the game can completely take things over for our opponent. Please attack with Hippocamp. Please attack with Hippocamp. Please. Please don't have the trick. Oh, thank you very much, Vexing Goal. Sometimes Wingull is actually a great Pokemon. Oh my god, we are getting bombed to oblivion. This is the Justice game. Femia is another one of the best rares in the format. Best rares ever printed. Maybe, maybe not quite. Definitely not quite Dream Trawler levels, but the pure efficiency of this card makes up for it. A 2-mana 2/1 flyer that immediately spits out a 2/2 zombie in that end step. So if your opponent doesn't have instant speed removal for your 2-drop, you immediately got 4 power off of it. And if it sticks around, it just completely takes over the game. It's just absurdly cheap, really. Dreamchar is like absurdly uninteractable. Ephemia's absurdly efficient. Like, it's actually egregious. They spent 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer and 2 2/2s now. We can kill all the 2/2s, which is cute. I guess they are out of stuff in grave till they self-mill some more, so we don't want to bounce Mire Triton, that's for sure. Because we don't want them to self-mill anymore. Sure, make them recast Ephemia. We take the 2, because Thaumaturge familiar. Trading for Triton just gets them a creature to exile to Ephemia. So that's why we're attacking with familiar here. We're just not blocking with familiar. Oh my god, no. Those are literally the 2 best black rares in the format, and they work incredibly together. Actually, wait. They are fighting each other for what to exile. They exile the same kind of cards to make the zombies, but the fact that Timuret Calls the Dead mills 6 towards the Ephemia is pretty gross. As are these draws, but I did actively choose not to scry away a land earlier, so that's partially on me. God, they built a Pharika spawn. I guess they have to choose between an immediate zombie or forcing me to sack the familiar. But secretly, I'll be sacking a turtle. Actually, probably should have held land 7 in case we top deck Dreamtrawler, because at this point, that's about the only thing that could ever change this game. No attacks. They didn't even send in the Mire Triton. Cool. Well, I guess I'll hold on to this island. Our opponent still has more rares, by the way. They milled in Erebos' intervention. That one's not really a bomb rare, but Wavebreak, Hippocamp, Timuret Calls the Dead, and Ephemia definitely are all cards I would consider bombs. Yeah, our opponent's deck is nuts. They definitely have the stronger deck than ours. We have the one individual strongest card in this matchup, having the 1 Dream Trawler, but that is the only rare in our deck. Well, no, we have Heliod's Intervention, which is strong. I forgot to stop damage, but it doesn't matter. Even if we top deck Dream Trawler, the game's done. Oh yeah, even if I Riptide Turtles, I would be dead to the Lampad. Well, no, I would have to chump 5. Okay, it doesn't matter. We top deck Prophecy. Lamphead kills us. We would have chumped the spawn and been at 6 right now, but then 0 blockers were just dead to their attacks next turn. But currently, if I try to do anything, if I blink, they sack a creature and we die. So, anyways, Dreamtrawler probably the single-handedly strongest card out of either of these decks, but I only have 1 Dreamtrawler. I have a Heliod's Intervention, which is solid. But yeah, they've got the Ephemia, the Timuret Calls the Dead, and the Wavebreak Hippocamp, and they drew all 3 in that game and deployed them all really quickly, so just an absolute balmy blowout there, and we are getting some justice from Arena. Some of our previous opponents getting their wishes granted. They have been avenged, and we've been outbombed as we head into Game 7. All right, here we are on the play for Game 7. 4-2 right now, so we're teetering on being in the money or just a break-even point here. So would really like to try to win at least one more game here, be up in gems again. I think I need mana enough to scry these away. Keep the thirst remaining to dig off of our first scry. Oh boy. This is actually an issue. If I say Dreadful Apathy, they just won't play a creature, and if I say Thirst for Meaning, I don't get to cast it this turn. That's awkward. I have to just say Thirst for Meaning. It's the only thing I can guaranteed play next turn. That was some rough tempo on that one. I guess maybe I should have kept Omen, so I could just say Omen to Prophecy. Okay. Draw 5. If I discard one enchantment, I then play one land and discard another card anyway. So either way, I have to discard 2. So I might as well discard the 2 weakest cards instead of an enchantment. And the 2 weakest cards are Elite Instructor and... I guess with Archon in hand, we could discard an Apathy, but I think I keep them all. I think it's probably Instructor and Plains. Keep 2 lands here. Still guarantees Witness next turn. Let's clean this up a little bit. This is getting... It's getting all out of sorts. Full Jund from our opponent. Green, red, and black. All off of some basics. Jam in for 2 with our Piper, and pass the turn. We find a Daybreak Chimera. Thirst for Meaning is going to be our draw next turn. That's going to be sweet. I think I play the Chimera here. Because Witness of Tomorrow's is another enchantment that we could discard to our Thirst for Meaning we'll be playing next turn. The Chimera is also a tiny bit harder to kill with removal, since it's not an enchantment. They can't return to nature it, which is basically just this format's naturalize. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Gravebreaker Lamia, that's a very good card. 4/4 lifelinker, and they put any card from their library into their graveyard, so they pick their best escape card, which is Farika's Spawn. Also an excellent card. So, with Heliod's Intervention, I can just Intervention the Lamia, but that'd just be a 1-for-1 intervention, which is not that exciting. If I want to get greedy on the intervention, it means not killing the Lamia at all, which means not even apathying it or anything. I guess I can, like, Thirst for Meaning here, and if we hit a land, which we absolutely do, we can hold up Vexing Goal, and I can double block Lamia. If they go for it, I can also just Intervention for 1 as an option. Okay, let's see instant speed stuff from our opponent here. Well, I am extremely happy they did that before I declared the double block, because we would have gotten blown out, so thank you for the information, opponent. I will keep my Chimera on board then. Guess that is another enchantment for me to blow up now. It's not an exciting one, though. Take like 6 on the crackback maximum. I'm just going to tap out for this Archon, try to trade Lamia into it. And if that does happen, we get our 3/4 back, since we discarded that to a Thirst for Meaning. It's a pretty good trade for us. That holds them off if they don't have removal. And even if they have removal, we get the death trigger, unless it's exile removal. I think Archon's pretty solid here. No, not if they Scavenging Harpy. I mean, it's still good. They can Harpy our flyer and we'll just get a Metamized Prophecy. Yeah, sure. I'll still take this trade immediately, I think. Well, maybe not with Heliod's Intervention in hand. I go to 10, though, if I don't take this trade. Archon holds, like, all their other creatures back, though. Yeah, no, we'll take it. Let's go full defense at this point, though. Whenever another creature becomes the target of an ability of land control named the Labyrinth of Scophos, you may have the Maze Warden fight that creature. Oh, doesn't work against Dream Trawler, though. Dream Trawler just completely changes our plan every time. I was gonna, like, Apathy the Maze Warden and exile it here and just hold up all of our blocks, but we drew a Dream Trawler, so we play a Dream Trawler. I think I can still play lands, because I have so many cards to discard to this Trawler. That is cute. They pulled off the rare uncommon combo, though, of Maze Warden and Labyrinth. They can fight our Chimera away. Keep the Warden on board. Okay, I'm not going to let Dream Trawler die to a combat trick here, but I also can't really afford to take any more damage, just in case I get randomly blown out by instant speed burn. I guess it doesn't matter what speed, but just burn spells in general, combat tricks, stuff like that. The one aspect I don't like about this is in losing the Archon, I'm going to be lower on creature count to where they might be able to try to get me to sacrifice the Dream Trawler to the spawn, but that requires 6 of their mana, so they would need 1 mana removal to kill a 3/3 in order to kill Dream Trawler this turn off of the spawn. What is going on right now? They're just blanking the block here. And that's pretty good for me. They just dump a bunch of mana for nothing. Cool. Yeah, super cool with me. Okay. Now just ride a Dream Trawler all the way to victory. Play it pretty safe with the blocks here. I think next turn after I get my big 5 life gain swing, then I'll go ahead and hold up all these blockers. Or not hold them up, then I'll go ahead and start attacking with them, I should say. I might just Heliod's Intervention for 1,000,000, actually. Yeah, maybe I should have just sent with everybody now. Just not even kill their cards. Just the Intervention to gain 14. They're digging. But I don't think they're finding answers to Dream Trawler because, frankly, they don't exist. Yeah, I can kill them with 2 flying attacks. If I Apathy the Harpy and just send everybody in. I'll be at 20 life after that, too. I think it's worth it. Probably because we have such a big life-gaining Heliod's Intervention worst-case scenario. Could have just sent in with everybody last turn as well. Minimize Prophecy is the enchantment. They're going to let it through this time. I could Heliod's Intervention the Lamia so they don't get any life gain here. Which I don't hate, but also just not necessary. So I like playing it safe. Well, I don't know, maybe it is necessary. If I Intervention the Lamia there, I get to make sure that I still have more creatures on board. So we're less likely to have to sacrifice Dream Trawler to the spawn, which we might have to do now if they have 2 mana removal for a Chimera. Yeah, we actually need to find more creatures to play around the spawn. Maybe I should have kept the really dirtily just 1/2 there. The Thaumaturge is familiar on that scry. Because now they can Labyrinth of Scophos. Never mind. I'm going to say they can Labyrinth of Scophos, the Daybreak Chimera, and then next turn try to kill the Dream Trawler. I mean, but now we can just exile the Fairy spawn and we know we don't have to worry about any of that. Cool, and I hit a creature anyway, because Luxac McGee strikes. This has been a pretty sloppy game, but we hit a Dream Trawler, so I just don't think it matters. I'm just gonna slap cards on the board until they die when I hit Dream Trawler. When I don't have a Dream Trawler, we're trying really hard to find the right lines to stay alive and grind the game out and get some damage and flyers and stuff like that. But when I have a Dream Trawler, it's like, okay, fun mode. Swing pass, swing pass, swing pass. Another Scavenging Harpy for another flying chump blocker. Nope, they're going to play the Lamia. Tutor for another Verika's spawn, maybe? I don't know. We will find out. Yeah, they do have another one. All right. Well, then I need to exile the Maze Warden so they can't fight the Eidolon. And then bring back a spawn. "13 cards left. I do need to also not mill out, but I am hitting for a lot. Seven this turn in the sky. Kind of want to one with the stars, the Lamia, so they don't get any life. But on the other hand, I can also play Hero of the Pride plus Turtle to just really make sure I have a wide board state to make sure that they can't have any removal to kill the Eidolon. Because if they had like a Maya's Grasp for -3/-3, they could put that on the Eidolon, then reanimate the spawn, and that would be terrible for me. So let's just play around the spawn escape. Let them have a little more life. Just gonna try to keep all these creatures on board again to keep a wide board state to sack things before Trawler dies. Do I have any more flyers in the deck? I actually don't really have any more threats, period. So I need them to gain 0 life for the rest of the game, pretty much, to get them. So I really need to deal with Lamia now. I need to stop drawing extra cards, so we're not going to sack the Eidolon or anything. This would be 3 extra damage, but Dream Trawler is 3 natural damage every turn without the extra draws. A Soul Reaper coming. They drop a Soul Reaver, we Heliod's Intervention, Soul Reaper, and Lamia. If they wait till post-combat, I guess I only hit the Lamia. I want to make sure I have removal to get rid of the Scavenging Harpy, but I can still play one of these on the spawn. So I think exile the spawn is fine. If I can still hold up double white and 2. That's double white and 2. 8 cards left. Ooh. Okay. Well, I need to blow that up with Heliod's Intervention. That's more life gain. Dang, they didn't pre-combat the Soul Reaper. So we don't blow up the Soul Reaper. For 7 if I won with the Stars the Acolyte. But 7 is not lethal, so I would rather just hit with the Flyer. And then 1 with the Stars the Harpy next turn for the kill. Sea God Scorn. That's pretty perfect. Now I can just bounce their whole board and attack in next turn. Alright, there's the concession. We are now 5-2 in the money out of this draft with a really positive record. I think we won 1 game without Dream Trawler, but the rest of it has literally just been, like the name suggests, we drop a Dream Trawler and we just start sleepwalking until the game's over. We are now heading into game number 8 at 5-2. Well, we need to find multiple blue sources. There's a big risk to this one, but I'm just gonna slam keep it with Dream Trawler in the hand. Worst case scenario, we end the draft at 5-3, and that's a solid ending. Best case scenario, we find some blue sources and we just absolutely crush. Uh-oh, pretty aggressive start from our opponents, so missing any lands here is going to be pretty bad. But now when we hit 1 blue source, Thirst for Meaning does a lot of digging to help find the rest. Oof. 2 mana 3 power creature into 3 mana 4 power creature is rough. Hopefully they don't have the instant speed removal to go with it. And we actually get the kill here off of the Omen. Oh, that's lucky. And this is where an upkeep Omen is actually going to be super important. Oh, no, we're getting bombed. This thing draws them cards every time it attacks. Yeah, it draws them the best card out of the top 2, or it hits for 6 a turn. Either way is pretty bad for us. But yeah, upkeep Omen's really important here, because if the top isn't a land, that's devastating. Oh my god. Well, those are really bad top cards. Wow, how does that happen? Wait. Okay. Well, the lands are literally nowhere to be seen. That's wild. No land in the top 3 on that draw step. Our first blue source is at least like 15 cards deep. I guess I'll die. Probably. Saddest part about this might be literally only 1 turn too late. Even against this explosive start. Literal perfect curve. 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop. think we have to thirst for meaning, but I take 8. Yeah, I mean, it's over. I'm still going to play it out and try my best. But I think the land draws were just very bad. We took a gamble, but hit super, super poorly. 7 power, just the 7 power 5 drop. Perfect curve into a 7 power endgame threat. Yep. Wow, and that is still not mana. There it is. Way too late. Took a gamble. The gamble didn't pay off. It's rough that it went as bad as it did. But, hey, we'll take a 5-3 off the back of a Dream Trawler. This was a super simple draft. I think we were pretty heavily contested in blue-white. We got some great removal with these Dreadful Apathies and stuff. But we didn't see a lot of good creatures really at all. I think there was definitely competition in the color pair, but as I said during the draft early on, when we saw some of the good blue and white drawing up, it was like, I don't really think you can go any other direction. When you pack one, pick one Dream Trawler, you're kind of just stuck onto it. And even when your colors are contested and you get a pretty mediocre core to the deck, Dream Trawler still carries to those 5-win runs, still gets you all your gems back. It's still worth pretty much forcing the blue-white there. So 5 and 3, it's going to be for today's draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel and the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.